Alright guys, so let's go ahead and take a look at how I approached um, drawing the simple shapes of this landscape. Okay, so you know which shapes you're going to be using because we figured that out earlier, right? Now you just need to figure out how big those shapes need to be, and you need to figure out where to put them, right? And to do that, you're going to use like a combination of landmarks, which is what something we learned in the past, right? And measurements, right? You can figure out like the ratios of the different objects in the reference. Okay, so if you don't remember, the landmarks are little marks you make on your paper that kind of divide up larger shapes so that you can find the size and the location of smaller shapes in comparison to that larger shape. Um, and measurements, or like the ratios you create, help you figure out the number of times one smaller shape fits into a larger shape. Okay, so let's go and take a look at how I approached it. Okay, so let's go and skip a little bit. All right, so slip back a bit. Okay, so here you'll see that I actually am measuring the side of my paper, right? I mentioned in the intro that we'd be using the entire sheet of paper. If we look at the reference, right, here's the reference. I'm measuring this line here. Okay, some of you guys might think, oh, I'm going to start with this really big mountain because that's the first thing I see. But that really isn't uh, the the shape that takes up the most space. Okay, the shape that takes up the most space is actually this bottom shape here. Okay, and this line, this kind of shape right here, starts about a third of the page up, right? So if I divide this whole, imagine this is the side of my paper. If I divide the side of my paper into thirds, then that should be about this area, that or a quarter, right? But I think I use a third. So I go ahead and make that mark there. And then on the other side, I believe it's a fifth, right? So this side should fit into the paper 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Yeah, about a fifth, right? Just double checking again, and then I make that mark. Okay, then from there, I just kind of connect them by creating a straight line. And now I'm measuring where the width of the mountain. So I know that the mountain is supposed to fit, so this length here, right, is supposed to fit in the mountain 1, 2, 3, 4 times, right? So it from the side of the paper to this part of the mountain, I can divide this hill into 4 pieces, right? The first fourth is going to be the distance from the side of the paper to the beginning of the mountain, and then everything in the middle is the width of the mountain. Okay, so then let me back up a bit. Okay, let's start here. So for the height, right, I just looked at the top of the paper and I said, it's pretty close, right? Remember this, uh, I didn't have to use like an exact measurement, but you can kind of guess using your eyes, like how much space you need at the top, right? And since this is a flat top, I knew my triangle was going to go past it a little bit, okay? So that's why mine is pretty close to the top there, just connecting this point to the top because it's a triangle, and then this bottom point on the right to the top as well, okay? So now I have my first major triangle, right? And then I place a landmark that tells me where this big triangle is going to end on the width of my larger triangle. Okay, I also know that it comes out a little bit, so I make sure that I add that. Since it's a triangle, just going upwards and connecting at that top point. Okay. Yes, I know that there's supposed to be like this big gap here, but that's for the refining step. For now, I just need to know that there's supposed to be a triangle there. There's another triangle here from the hill that comes in the background, right? There's like a hill in the front, and then there's a hill in the back. I make sure to add those things. And then from here, let's see, skip ahead a bit. I'm just fixing the mountain because I noticed that the angles are kind of off. Skip a little bit more. Okay, so for the clouds, we know that they're supposed to be circles, right? So or ovals, and I just add those ovals in, making sure that I'm looking at about the proportion. I know that this cloud is touching the side and touching the mountain, so I add that. This one's going to be under it, leaving only a little bit of space. Not exact proportions because these are supposed to be abstract shapes, right? Clouds are abstract shapes. So yeah, that's pretty much it for your simple shapes. You just need to make sure that you know where everything is and what shapes to use.